Hi, everybody. Today we are going to be going over aggression replacement training. This presentation is by Vanessa Gallegos, Stephanie Page, and Logan Brickhouse. This is our table of contents. We're doing an introduction on what is ART and the components. We will be going over the effectiveness of treatment, group process, and 2 research studies. Okay, so what is ART? ART stands for Aggression Replacement Training, and this is a cognitive behavioral therapy approach that contains 3 different components. The first component is social skills training, and then there's anger control training and moral reasoning. So this intervention was designed by Goldstein, Glick, and Gibbs. They actually considered aggressive behavior to be someone who is limited in emotional control and also is limited in social skills, and then lacks norms and values of society. This program is designed to teach youths how to control their angry impulses and try to gain a different perspective on other people's visions rather than their own. So the goal is to reduce aggression and violence among youths and teach them social skills in replace of aggressive behavior. The program is divided to 30 hours over a 10-week span. There's 3 sessions per week. So say on Monday, you have a social skills training session that will last 1 to 2 hours. And then on Wednesday, you'll have an anger control training that lasts 1 to 2 hours. And then on Friday, you'll have your last class of the week. That's the moral reasoning. And the program is designed for smaller groups for 8 to 12 participants with a co-leader and a leader, 2 facilitators. So who is suitable for ART? Any youth who possesses aggressive and impulsive behavior, youth who have chronic aggression, poor problem-solving skills, poor social skills, juvenile delinquents, and conduct and acting out problems. So the first component of ART is the social skills component. This is broken down into 10 weeks. Like we said before, say this social skills was your class on Monday. So if it was your first week, you would be discussing how to make a complaint in your second week, understanding the feelings of others, and so forth. And each week is designed for that particular subject, which also has homework for the next week. The social skills component of ART is the behavioral component of CBT. It involves modeling where youth observe facilitators' behaviors and how they will act that out in a healthy manner, and role playing where members of the group role play the steps of the skill using a life situation into them. There is performance feedback where there's an open discussion between the facilitator and the groupers on better communication styles and healthier ways of communicating what you need instead of aggressive behavior. And then said before, there is homework assigned where that is a transfer training procedure of the social skills component. The second component of ART is anger control, and this would be your second class of the week, which would be on a Wednesday. And it's broken down from week 1, the ABCs of anger, learning how to log your triggers and your behaviors, and throughout the week you have homework up until week 10. In the anger control training session, youth learn how to respond to anger arousing situations using the triggers. And the chain of behaviors is things like identifying triggers, whether being external and internal. External triggers would be, say, one members is not getting along with their sister, or not getting along with their mom because their parents are telling them what to do. That's a trigger for their anger. And then the internal trigger would be something remembering something that made them angry, something that they should have said, things of the sort. The next includes identifying cues, like physical signs that they're becoming angry, like whether or not they're getting hot, sweat, turn red, like actual symptoms of them starting to get physically aggressive. Then they learn how to reduce the level of their anger. The instructor will help them, will remind them of the skills that they learned using reminders during the anger control component. And then there's self-evaluation and reflection on how they would respond to certain situations and what's helpful and what's not. So the last component of ART is moral reasoning. And this is the cognitive component of ART, which is used to raise the youth's level of fairness and their perspective of others. Instead of seeing it just for themselves, they're starting to view it from a different perspective. The 10 weeks are broken down into problem situations. So there's not a schedule here posted, but each week is a different problem situation that will later be discussed in our role play of a situation that's relevant to the youth. Get to role play and act out what they would say, and in hindsight kind of talk about what would be good good communication versus bad communication, and the facilitator mediates this whole conversation between the two members. The moral reasoning is broken down into 4 phases, which is they introduce a problem situation where one member reads the situation out loud to the group, and then the facilitator at and their level of awareness, whether it's a situation about a classmate said that I was cheating on a test. Okay, did he actually see me cheat? Is he saying this because he's mad? Like, what are the other factors involved in their level of awareness of the situation? And then there is the remediating of moral development delay. And then lastly, consolidating moral maturity of the group member.
Can we go to the group process first? So go on one more slide. Sorry. Okay. So thank you, Logan, for doing a great job explaining the main components of ART. I'm now going to talk about what a typical group process session is like. So as we all know, anger is a naturally occurring emotion that we all as human beings display. So in this group process setting, someone will make a complaint or an acquisition, and the individual or adolescent will become extremely angry, a very high significant amount than typically you would demonstrate in a normal situation. So what the group leaders will do is we're going to teach these adolescents and individuals about what anger is about and how to identify the triggers and understand the reasoning and emotions behind it. So a huge part of ART is role playing. In these role playing settings, the group members will come up with real life scenarios and demonstrate the skills that you would display in handling anger properly. So for the successful completion of the group process, each participant has to complete a certain amount of sessions and meet 70% of the session targets for each session. So any participant who completes ART successfully will receive a completion certificate, but any participant who does not meet the requirements but still goes through all of the sessions will receive a attended certificate and not a certificate of completion. So to reach these target sessions, you will have to demonstrate the understanding of the skills that they learned under each component of ART and demonstrate them properly. Wait, can you go back to the other slide? Sorry.
I'm sorry, is this the correct one?
Okay, so these are the evaluations of effectiveness. Results indicate that after treatment groups, these groups show substantial decreased anger levels, increased anger control scores, decreased physical aggression, decreased hostility scores, and increased social problem-solving ability. ART is usually used in juvenile delinquent centers for adolescents who demonstrate very aggressive behavior, using communities struggling with gang violence, and in highly aggressive youth and adolescents with high levels of anger. So there was Logan is going to go into depth about some more case studies, but ART is used a lot in gang violence situations. So there was impressive results after working with a gang in Brooklyn, New York. So these skills enhance the pro-social skill competency and pro-social behavior. It also showed significant levels of reduced impulsiveness, decreased frequency of acting out behaviors, and an enhanced amount of moral reasoning, even with these individuals who typically throughout their entire lives have shown a significant amount of violence and have been practicing that just as who they are as these gangs. So I think that's very impressive that ART is that so substantial and can really impact a group who has only known violence their whole lives. Where'd Logan go?
Okay, great stuff. That was really good. Now we're moving on to our first research study, which researched the efficiency of aggressive replacement training with juvenile delinquents. This study observed the effects of ART in delinquent boys at the New York State Division for Youth Residential Facility. Youngsters were admitted to this facility. They either were delinquents that were being held or they were being held due to probation reasons. Most of the youth showed behaviors of aggressiveness, lack of impulsivity, and substance abuse. The study was designed to look at the efficiency for enhancing pro-social skills and moral reasoning, self-control, and reducing the frequency and intensity of aggressive behavior. The study found that ART was very successful in enhancing self-control over time, and it reduced the frequency and intensity of the aggression in the delinquent boys. ART was found to be way more significant in treating and minimizing the aggressive behavior in the delinquents versus other treatments that they were studying as well. So the method of this research study, there were 21 participants assigned to the ART condition. Each participant had 1 hour of each component a week. So they had the skills training, the anger control training, and the moral reasoning every single week. And that was 30 classes held over 10 weeks. Moving on to the next study. So our second research study studied the aggression replacement training for violent young men in a forensic psychiatric outpatient clinic. The effects of ART were explored in a group of Dutch violent young men aged from 16 to 21 years old who were court ordered to follow a treatment program and were convicted of at least one violent offense. The ART consisted of a shorter treatment program that was 15 weekly sessions lasting 1.5 hours each. But the components of ART were still used. So there were 20 sessions of the treatment instead of the 30. So this was a short-term ART intervention. It's worthy to note that several authors disagreed with the short-term group treatments for offenders like this, but the results of the study are in line with other studies that result in reduction of physical aggression for violent young men. And they found that ART produced a significant reduction in physical aggression and social anxiety. And this concludes our presentation. Here are our references, and now we will be moving into our role play. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you guys again. Welcome back. So I've been really happy with the progress that we've made. I thought we've been doing really good. We've been working really hard. But I kind of wanted to recap with what we've been talking about so far. So can anyone give me some of the behaviors that we've been talking about the past few weeks that can help you control your anger?
Anger reducers is a big one.
Okay, can you give me an example?
Breathing, counting.
Okay, so maybe you can give me an example of like how that would be used. Like, can you give me like a scenario?
Yeah, so let's see. I was at the mall the other day and there was a bunch of people, and it really started to get to me. I thought that they were staring at me, thought they were talking about me, but before I can get mad, I told myself that they're not talking about me, and that I started counting while taking deep breaths to calm me down, and that was enough to get me to leave the store without freaking out.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. That's perfect and how it's used. Logan, do you have one that you can give us?
If and then statements that we've been working on.
Okay, and can you give me an example of how that would be used?
Yeah, so I guess the most recent one, my mom said I couldn't sleep over at my friend's house, and I was getting really mad, and I was in my room and I was thinking about what we've been learning, and I was trying to calm myself down. And so we've been learning about consequences, and I remembered, I didn't think I would, but because I was so angry, but I remembered, and then I used the if and then statements, and I was like, okay, well, if I lose it on my mom, or if I give her an attitude, which she's used to, then she's definitely going to say no tomorrow night. And my friend's having a big birthday party tomorrow night, and I really want to be able to go. So, seeing the consequence of if I were to give an attitude and not being able to go tomorrow night, I was able to apply the skill, and I think it actually really helped me. And my mom wasn't as angry with me like how she usually is, and was actually surprised that I am doing so well. My anger control.
Very nice, Logan. Thank you so much for sharing that personal story with us. But I'm very happy to hear that you were able to, take a minute and actually think about it before you continued. So I want to touch back on what Stephanie said. I wanted to go through an activity, kind of just practicing that counting, taking some deep breaths before, you kind of freak out, maybe take yourself out of the situation for just a moment, let yourself kind of calm down and then readdress the problem. So I want, maybe on the count of three, we'll all take 2 deep breaths. We'll count to 10, and then we'll take one more deep breath, and then we'll see how we feel afterwards. Okay, so on the count of three, we're going to take 2 deep breaths, and then we're going to count. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, in. One more. Okay, now we count 1, 2, 3, 4,
4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
8,
8,
9.
9, 10.
and then one more deep breath. Very nice. See, nice and calm, get able to recollect yourself a little bit. So now that we're kind of prepared, let's dive into some of the meat and potatoes of today's lesson. So I kind of want to do some role playing with maybe some of the invoices that you guys have been putting in your hassle logs. Some daily occurrences that kind of happen that you might note in your hassle log that kind of either irritated you or something you did well to handle that. So does anyone have something they want to share to start us off?
I can.
Okay, let's hear it.
Um, I wrote, being in a tight space makes me really uncomfortable. I was um, going to get on the bus and I was getting very like uncomfortable and I started to get really bad that I was uncomfortable. That was in my log for this week.
Okay, so for this role play, I'm going to be you in this situation. Okay, so I'm kind of gonna go through that situation as if I was, getting on a crowded bus, and maybe we can practice some of the skills that we just, kind of went over to recollect and then go through with that situation. Maybe that'll help you, like in a similar situation if it happens again. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm getting on the bus, and it is crazy. There's kids sitting everywhere. I don't see a single seat. And finally, someone, pushes their stuff aside and allows me to sit down. And it's loud, it's hectic, it's just overwhelming. And I'm having a stressful day already. I woke up late and I'm just ready to blow. This is kind of just the cherry on top. So when I'm starting to feel like this, instead of just, raging and, wanting to scream at everybody, I would take myself out of the situation. So for this example, I'll use the kind of a person sitting next to me on the bus, right? They say, "Hey, are you okay?" And instead of me snapping back at them, I'm gonna say, "You know what? Just give me a second. I need a second to calm down before I kind of speak with them." So then I'm gonna sit back and say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, that this bus situation is crazy right now, and I've had a bad day already, and it's only 9 a.m. So I just needed a minute, but I'm okay now. So can you guys give me any input on like what you think? Would this be something that you guys would actually find useful?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think definitely when we get angry, we use our emotions impulsively. And I think thinking about them, taking a step back, calming ourselves down is definitely very helpful.
Very nice. Very nice. So maybe we have time for one more. Do either of you guys have something that maybe um, could be used with like a consequence? You know, maybe thinking in future might be beneficial for that type of situation. You
Wait,
know
sorry.
what? Here, I'll
Say it
I'll
one more
I'll,
time.
I'll restate because I said that kind of funny. I think I'm just going to use kind of what Logan said at the beginning. I really liked what she said with her mom, you know, not allowing her to kind of spend the night at her friend's house. I can see how that kind of puts you in a very awkward situation, Logan, because, you know, that's something that, you know, you've been looking forward to, and maybe you promised your friend that you would be there, but you hadn't asked your mom yet. So I can see how that puts you in a very, you know, frustrated mindset, right? But I really liked how when you were explaining it earlier, you know, you kind of felt like you were just going to blow up on your mom and say, you know, I'm going to do what I want, or, you know, you're being unfair, unreasonable. But you kind of took a step back from that situation. You know, you reflected what she said, the situation at hand, and like you kind of thought about the consequences of, if I do kind of lash out at my mom, you know, it's just going to make it worse. Right. So I thought you handled that situation very, very well. Um, do you have any, you know, questions for maybe something you could have done, or, you know, something, you know, but positive that you learned from that?
Um, I think like in the moment I was really mad and I didn't it just takes me a while to kind of get myself together, and she doesn't always respect my room. And so when I'm mad and I'm trying to do these exercises and she like comes barging in, I get even more mad. Um I think I could use the breathing exercise more. Um in that sense I didn't use the breathing exercise, and I didn't count on my fingers like we practiced. I forgot. I was just so just hot headed and not thinking. But I mean, the if then statements did help. But instead of pacing around my room and still getting myself worked up because my mom's coming in and out, I think I could have done the breathing exercises in replace of that. That's something that I probably want to change and maybe try to do next time. It's just sometimes I get like really in my head and I just don't think, and sometimes I just blow up, but I'm trying. I don't know.
Yeah, and I can see
It's
that you're
hard.
trying. Yeah, I see all the effort that you've been putting in. And I thought you did a really good job with your situation. You know, you really thought about, you know, the consequences of your actions, or possible actions, you know, some of the ones that you didn't follow through on. You did a very good job with that. And I'm very happy, you know, that you took the time. And you know, we can use these things kind of like in combination, right? So there's nothing wrong with, you know, counting to 10, you know, taking that moment, and then once you're kind of clear minded, you know, take a second, think about maybe some of those if then statements, you know, now that you're clear headed instead of worked up, you know, maybe once you're clear minded, you can more focus on the consequences of possible actions, right? Well, all right. You know, I thought this recap was really good. The session, you know, went great. I'm very proud of you guys for working so hard. I can definitely see some progress. Do you guys have any questions for me?
No, thank you. I think you did a great job leading this role play.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. You guys did great.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.